As veterans, we're no strangers to helping others.
That's what we were taught, service before self.
But we do have one question for the veterans listening.
When was the last time you reached out for help?
If you or someone you know needs resources, whether it's for stress, finances, employment, or mental health, don't wait. Reach out.
Find more information at va.gov/reach. That's va.gov/reach.
Brought to you by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs and the Ad Council.
Hey everybody, it's Ron, and every Monday through Thursday, we talk about some event in business history that reshaped the world. But on Fridays, we talk about something completely different. On Fridays, these are the stories that went completely off the rails. They may have still changed the business world, just not in the way anyone wanted. These are the business bloopers. It's 1991 in Manila in the Philippines, and you're standing outside a corner store as the crowd swells to nearly 300 people. Now, here's the thing. They're not here for soda. They're here because each one of them thinks they just won 1 million pesos, enough to buy a house, start a business, or finally pay off their parents' debt. See, Pepsi had this marketing idea to bump business on the islands. They decided they would print every bottle cap with a 3-digit number inside. They called it the number fever game. The premise was pretty simple. Buy Pepsi, collect the bottle caps, wait to see what today's number is. If you have it, you could maybe be a millionaire. And today's number, in 1992, the number was 349. Remember that. We're going to come back to that here in a minute. See, as you're standing outside on that corner, there's a woman there waving her bottle cap in the air like a winning lottery ticket. You look around a little bit and there's a teenager who's holding 4 empty bottles in one hand and they're still fizzing. And across the street is a Pepsi delivery truck that is sitting completely frozen, trapped and surrounded by the crowd. So what's the problem? Well, you've probably figured it out by now. They all have bottle caps with the number 349 printed inside. Yeah, they all think they just won. And technically, I guess they did. But what no one knows yet, not the winners, not the store owners, not even Pepsi's local offices, is that 349 didn't go out on just one bottle cap. Somehow, it got printed on 800,000. And by the time Pepsi figures it out, it's too late. By the time I get done telling you this story, we're going to talk about protest and boycotts and firebombs in courtrooms. And a global brand will learn what happens when a marketing game not only goes violently off script, but when some former school student forgot that age-old adage to make sure and double-check your work before you turn it in. Okay, so how did we get here? Well, it's the early 1990s, and Pepsi's got a problem, and it wasn't Coke, or at least it wasn't just Coke. Pepsi was getting crushed in the Philippines by a wave of hyper-local soda brands. Royal True Orange, Sarsi, Pop Cola. Names that didn't register in the U.S., but on the islands, these were brands with serious loyalty. Pepsi's market share was stuck around 17%. Coke had probably about double that. And despite every Pepsi challenge and every price drop, Filipinos just weren't going for Pepsi. So Pepsi's marketing team did what marketing teams do when they're losing. They decided to launch a game. And not just any game, a nationwide lottery, printed on every bottle cap. It was called Number Fever. And the rules were pretty simple. Every cap had a random 3-digit number inside. Pepsi announced a new winning number every single day live on the evening news. And if your number matched that day's number, you won a prize, with one grand prize every few days, 1 million pesos. And that was real money. For a middle-class Filipino worker in 1992, that was 15 to 20 years of salary. Suddenly, soda wasn't just about taste, it was about hope. People started collecting caps by the dozen. Kids skipped buying snacks to buy more Pepsi. In fact, there was a whole black market trade that popped up. People swapping caps at bus stations or betting on what numbers would hit next. And you know what? It wasn't just hype. By May of that year, over 51,000 people had claimed prizes, including 17 grand prize winners who each walked away with 1,000,000 pesos. Thousands more won 100 peso prizes, about a week's wages at the time. That steady stream of daily winners made the game feel real. If your neighbor hit it yesterday, maybe today was your turn. People didn't just believe in number fever, they built routines around it. And for Pepsi, it worked. Their market share in the Philippines jumped nearly 5% in just a few months. Publicity was huge. Stores ran out of product. It was Pepsi's dream campaign until it wasn't. So it happened on May 25th, 1992. That night's winning number, 349, was announced on national television. In homes across the Philippines, families flipped bottle caps over, held their breath, and then they erupted. People screamed, they danced, they hugged. 1,000,000 pesos in a country where most people made less than 5,000 pesos a month? That was life-changing money. But by the morning, it was starting to become obvious that something was off. The phones at Pepsi's Manila office were ringing nonstop. Stores were packed with people holding 349 caps. Truck drivers couldn't complete their routes because the roads were blocked by crowds demanding their prize money. At first, Pepsi just assumed it was just enthusiasm. After all, other winning numbers had stirred excitement before. But this was different. Pepsi was only supposed to have printed 2 winning bottle caps with the number 349, just 2 of them. Instead, they printed 800,000. A third-party contractor, the one hired to handle the cap printing software, had made a critical mistake. The number 349 wasn't supposed to even be declared a winner. It had already been mass-printed in a previous run. But someone forgot to cross-check the master list, and the number got called anyway. Within hours, Pepsi realized what had happened, but the damage was already spreading. Winners, or people who thought they were winners, were lining up by the hundreds outside bottling plants and regional offices. Some came with bags of caps. Others came with friends and family members ready to celebrate. Pepsi, who was caught completely off guard, obviously, tried to shut everything down. They issued press releases calling it a technical error. They offered a consolation prize of 500 pesos, about $18 at that point, to anyone who held a 349 cap. Obviously, that didn't go over well. Filipinos who thought they were millionaires were now being told their winning caps were worthless, or worth about the cost of a family meal. To them, it wasn't a mistake, it was a betrayal. And just like that, number fever turned into a full-on PR nightmare. The protests started small. Marches, boycotts, angry letters, media outrage, talk radio fury. But it didn't stay small. In just a few weeks, Pepsi was dealing with bombings. Over 30 delivery trucks were attacked, some with Molotov cocktails. Pepsi workers were injured. Bottling plants were barricaded. And tragically, 5 people were killed in riots in retaliation. This wasn't just a blooper. It was a national crisis, all triggered by what could be considered a clerical error. Pepsi spent the next several years trying to put out fires, figuratively and literally. In the immediate aftermath of the 349 disaster, they doubled down on their message. The caps were invalid. Not faked, not forged, just misprinted. A mistake, sure, but not a crime. But that distinction didn't matter to the people holding them. By the end of 1992, Pepsi had received over 480,000 individual claims from people demanding their million-peso prize. Thousands of those people joined class action lawsuits, protest groups, even makeshift Pepsi 349 alliances. Some demanded payouts, others wanted criminal charges, a few just wanted Pepsi to go away. The company's handling did not help. At first, they offered that 500 pesos to each 349 cap holder, barely a consolation. Then they pulled back and made those payments harder to access. Then they said only caps with a security code would count, even though that code had never been part of the original promotion. It felt like the goalposts were being moved mid-game. And every time Pepsi tried to clarify, they seemed to make it worse. In total, Pepsi Philippines spent an estimated $20 million dealing with the fallout, between legal fees, security costs, PR campaigns, and the revised payouts. That was 10 times more than they had budgeted for the entire promotion. And still, the brand suffered. For years afterward, Pepsi struggled with trust in the Philippines. Their market share plummeted. Executives were called before government hearings. They were sued, investigated, and eventually cleared of criminal wrongdoing. The courts found no intent to deceive, but no one forgot what happened. Even decades later, 349 is a punchline in parts of the country. An entire generation remembers where they were the day they thought they became a millionaire and didn't. And Pepsi? They quietly shut the whole campaign down. No more daily numbers, no more bottle caps, no more number fever. Just the lingering aftertaste of a clerical error that turned into a national scandal. To wrap up each of our business blooper episodes, I'd like to do what I'm calling a debrief, and that's kind of a look at what actually went wrong. So let's ask that question. What actually went wrong here? It wasn't the idea. Number fever worked. It boosted sales, it built excitement, and it gave people hope. The failure was in execution, and more importantly, expectation management. If you're going to tie your brand to daily cash prizes and broadcast those numbers on national TV, you'd better make sure your systems are foolproof. You need to make sure that your cap printer talks to the promo team, that your error checking system doesn't rely on luck, that if things do go sideways, and things go sideways in business, your response isn't more confusing than the mistake itself. Now, this wasn't a scheme. It wasn't fraud. It was a blooper. But it was the kind of blooper that reminds us, sometimes the smallest oversights happen when you're running the biggest campaigns. And those are the ones that can blow up the loudest. I'm Ron Trucks, and this is Business Bloopers, just one part of the Business Basics podcast lineup. Every weekday, we're telling stories that make business make sense. And on Fridays, we look at the ones that fell apart. If you liked this one, follow us on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube, and leave us a quick review if you get a chance. It helps others find us. Want more no-fluff business lessons? Head over to bsnsdailypodcast.com.
New products to launch? New people to develop? New goals to crush? Workday Go is designed for small and mid-sized businesses. By bringing HR and finance together on one AI platform, you'll have everything you need to think big, go big, and grow big. And activation is fast. It takes just 30 to 60 business days to get you up and running. Simplify your SMB on an AI platform you'll never outgrow. Workday Go.